Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Żaneta, and this is another video of our travels in Poland. I have introduced several other attractions in my previous videos, so be sure to check them out. This time, we revisited Toruń, a charming Gothic city with its iconic buildings and castle. We parked near St. Catherine's Church, and the parking was actually free during the weekend. But since we are not locals, we didn't know that. Here is something I want to mention. There was no information about it on the payment station, except for the hourly price. So I hadn't noticed until after I paid. Well, at least parking is still cheap in Poland. After a while, walking towards the old town, we visited St. Jacob's Church, which is presumed to be the most beautiful of all Toruń's churches. It has a unique basilica construction and a system of straining arches. Its interior is decorated with Gothic paintings and Baroque and Rococo altars, but unfortunately, it's not possible to enter. The entrance is blocked by bars, which are closed when there is no mass or other ceremony in the church. It seems to be a norm nowadays, as we notice this in several churches. Next, we walk to the castle ruins. I think it will be difficult to convince my husband to come to Toruń one more time, as it's been our go-to trip whenever we are back in Poland. Still, I think Toruń is one of the most beautiful cities. You can visit the ruins, but since we were here in the winter, we skipped it again. Toruń Castle is a 13th-14th century castle built by the Teutonic Order. It's part of the medieval town of Toruń and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Today, only a small part of the castle remains, including the sewage tower and the cellars. Construction began in the mid-13th century and lasted for about 100 years. It was the first Teutonic castle in the Helmnoland and played a significant role in the Teutonic Knights' mission to colonize the pagan Old Prussians. The castle has been partially excavated, rebuilt, and turned into a historical monument. The remaining sections now house permanent exhibits, allowing visitors to explore settings such as the armory, kitchen, dormitory, scriptorium, and mint. We walked behind the castle along the road by the river, which was previously closed. Unlike 2 years ago, there was no renovation this time, so we could see a part we couldn't walk through before. The view is great, as you can see the old walls and gates that all surrounded the city. Each of Toruń's 3 urban units, the Old City, the New City, and the Teutonic Castle, had its own defensive system. The 4-kilometer wall encompassed 54 fortified towers, 11 gates, and 2 barbicans. Today, 9 towers and 3 gates still stand as the stamp of Toruń's historical fortifications. The majority of the gates and city walls were dismantled in the second half of the 19th century. The remaining gates are located along the Vistula River. Following the road, you will arrive at one of the city's landmarks, the Leaning Tower. We noticed that one of the old gates has now been turned into the Lithuanian consulate. The Leaning Tower is undoubtedly the most attractive and famous tower in Toruń. Originally built as a fortified tower in the 14th century as part of the city walls, it was initially a straight tower with 4 walls. However, it lacked a front wall, making it easier to hoist ammunition to the upper floors. This popular tourist attraction began leaning during the Middle Ages, most likely due to unstable ground conditions. Despite its tilt, it has remained stable ever since. Currently, the tower stands at 50 meters tall and leans 146 centimeters off the perpendicular on the street-facing side. Continuing along the road, you will pass an old city wall. After turning into another street, you will soon see the Nicholas Copernicus house, which is another must-visit place. We only visited the outside because we thought we would be going back to the family's house for lunch, and the tour takes about an hour. Cold and hungry, we stopped by a Polish convenience store called Żabka for a snack. It was near another great building, the old city town hall. On the way, we came across a bubble tea shop, offering some unique flavors, such as gingerbread and mint chocolate. It was nothing like Taiwanese bubble tea. Located in the center of the old city market square, this monumental building is one of the largest and most magnificent of its kind in Europe. The construction of the town hall was authorized by the Teutonic Grand Master Konrad von Wallenrod in the late 14th century, during Toruń's peak prosperity. The tower, adorned with exquisite Gothic ornaments, is the oldest section of the current building. Dating back to 1274, it was raised to its current height of 40 meters in 1385. It was getting colder, so we decided to walk back to the parking lot. But I took a longer route to pass by a few more historic buildings and see more of this beautiful city. Baszta Koci Łeb is one of the 9 surviving defensive towers within the city's medieval walls. Originally built in the 13th century, it was later adapted for artillery use around 1500. Its name comes from a local legend about a cat that helped defend the city during a Swedish siege in 1629. Yet another historic tower, now home to the Slovenian consulate. We also passed by a monument dedicated to General Elżbieta Zawadzka, a courier for the Home Army headquarters and the only female Cichociemna paratrooper. The children's playground is set against a backdrop of a few antique buildings. But Toruń isn't just about Gothic architecture. One thing you absolutely must try here is gingerbread, traditional cookies that dates back to the 14th century. The weather wasn't favorable, chilling 0 degrees and barely any sunshine, so it wasn't the most pleasant walk. After less than 2 hours in the city, we decided to drive back to visit a family who invited us here. Once again, we had a meal at the family's house. This can be both a good and bad part of having a big family. 3 meals, but no chance to eat outside. Besides the older aunt and uncle, we also met more distant family members that I hadn't met before. That ends our trip to Toruń. Thanks for watching and feel free to check out my other videos too. See you next time. Bye!